Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft early access coverage. This is episode 107. I'm Enigmius, and today it's the Robo-MOBA. At long last, almost 2 weeks after it was released, we're here talking about its first impressions on the new game mode and the game as a whole. First thing I want to talk about, not lecturing, not chastising, not trying to make anyone feel bad. We can stop calling it the new meta now. It's not the new meta. Meta is a term that applied when the original plan was to replace what is now the classic mode with the MOBA mode. Because meta has a very specific meaning. It's not just a word people made up. Meta means everything. It means all of the different components working together, the sum of its parts, big picture kind of thinking. And when we're talking about Robo-MOBA alongside the classic game, alongside the encounter mode, alongside the practice map and the planned additions for the practice map, we can't call it meta if we're just talking about the MOBA, because the MOBA is only a part of all these different things. You can call it the MOBA meta if you're just talking about the MOBA, or you can call it the classic meta if you're talking about classic. If we're specific about what sort of umbrella we're using, that's fine, but the new meta, kind of meaningless. The new meta is not that much different from the old one. It's just we've added a battle mode. A battle mode that's very different from the old one, but we've still got so much of the old stuff hanging around. It's not that disruptive in the grand scheme of things in the long haul. Now, before anyone tries arguing that, don't worry about it. It's not that important. I can just see the comments. Overall, I think the new battle mode is got all kinds of potential. I would say right now it's very bland. You know, the first time you go in and all the new audio is there and the voice is telling you stuff, it's very impressive. But when you get right down into the game mode itself and playing it and doing the things, you can see the potential very clearly. But it's also, let's just say if they came out and said, yeah, this is it, we're happy with it, we're not going to be doing much more to it, this is the end-all be-all of the MOBA, it would be kind of a flop. But understanding that they're, absolutely already working on the extra things that they plan on adding, and probably are going to be many, many more things that they haven't even decided on yet that will be added. It's got a lot of potential. Obviously, when you've got something like this where you're looking at overclocking, for example, with all of these different mobility types, all of these different weapon types, balance is, anyone who is expecting anything resembling refined, polished balance on day one after the MOBA update may be a little bit naive, maybe a little bit inexperienced how these things work. Obviously, there's going to be things that need to be changed. There are going to be people who look at something and say, how did that even get past the developers? It should never have even been allowed to exist in the first place. At the end of the day, it's still, for the most part, things like the the tank treads, tracks, and their speed when they're fully overclocked is ludicrous. But it's easily changed, I would suspect. I would imagine that there's just some parameters that they have to switch. They don't have to do any major rewrites of anything. They just make some adjustments and find themselves in a much better position in terms of tracks that aren't faster than hovers. Because Pretty Hate Machine is a heavy hover, there's no doubt about that. And that's kind of one of those things disappointing, I feel. I don't agree necessarily that heavy hovers need to be that slow. But we'll see. I'm sure if other people feel the same way, the developers will see it in the distribution charts at the end of each week, showing what people aren't using, what kinds of movement. Realistically speaking, concept, balance, things like that coming out of an update like this, like I said, people have been asking me to make another Robocraft video, and I'm just like, it's too early. It would be silly to try and come to any kind of informed opinions about what's going on. I've been playing the game, I've been, reading the forums, I've been doing these different things to try and get a feel for not only the game and how it's played now in the new sort of setup, but also what other people are talking about. Maybe someone's got a better grip on what's going on than I do in a particular topic, and if I kind of read what people are saying, then I can kind of get a feel for whether or not I am forming an appropriate opinion. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't take the time to stop and just shut up and listen for a little while and gather input on what people are saying before they form their own opinions. They form an opinion and then go around looking for reasons to justify it, and that's kind of backwards. That's not how I like to do things, especially if I'm going to talk your ear off for 15 or 20 minutes. Kind of like to have things together a little bit. Now, there's certain things that are not really working for me. You know, I mentioned that obviously the tracks are too fast, and that's kind of reasonable. And also seeing a developer comment saying, yeah, we can afford to nerf those fairly heavily, and it will put it in a better place. There's the other flip side of that, and it's kind of becoming almost like a habit with me and Free Jam, is developer comments that I just look and I say, what the hell are you thinking? Crowing about the destructive capacity of overclocked nano disruptors. There's been so many games, so many online games that have come out that have healers in team versus team kind of competitive play, and none of them have ever been able to come up with a appropriate and fair balance to healers that also have massive offensive potential. You can't have both. The last one that I saw that tried to do it was World of Warcraft, the Wrath of the Lich King expansion with Ret Pallies. For those of you who haven't played, don't worry. It's a character class. You can have 3 different specializations for it. You can have very high survivability but low damage, very, very high single target healing output but low damage, or very, very high damage output but low survivability and very little healing output. And that was the balance, and that was the decision that you made as you were going along setting up your character. They set it up so that this character that was supposed to be high damage, low healing, low survivability could pop an invulnerability shield and fully heal themselves every 10 seconds, and everyone else was getting mad and wondering, how in the hell did this even get past quality control, in-house quality control? This is ridiculous. And eventually it was nerfed, and it had to be nerfed. There was really no getting around it. I was a little bit disappointed at the time because I was using that specific build in PvE, not competing against other players, and was really having a lot of fun with it. But I understood at the same time, you know, the changes that needed to be made, and at the time they weren't tuning for PvP and PvE separately, so it had to go. And it was one of those lessons that we learn as we experience these different things in different games over time. Healers can't be offensive juggernauts at the same time as they're able to just turn around and start healing their teammates, because that's what you call broken. Yin and yang. They don't fit in the same can. You have one or the other. You've got nano disruptors that's got yin and yang in the same can, and everyone else has got yin. How does that balance? How does that work out? What are you doing to give Plasma, SMG, and Rails the ability to heal or shield their teammates? Maybe it's something to do with the supercomputers. I don't think it's going to be the same. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep this whole idea of nano disruptors, offensive juggernaut, and healing plus Tesla blades. Holy cow. What are we going to do? Fix it. That's what you're going to do. That's kind of the concern, and it goes back to, and I've mentioned this before, and I don't want to harp on it something in the past, except that there's, you know, this story has reached a new conclusion. That was a developer comment that they liked the idea of the seal clubbing because it showed people of a lower tier what they could do when they get to a higher tier. That guy who's driving around in his little tier 2 SMG cart and gets one shot by the tier 2 plasma cart, or sorry, the tier 2 rail cart with the tier 5 railgun on it. Oh yeah, it shows the guy in the little SMG cart that when he's gained 3 more tiers, he can put a railgun on his little cart and come back here and seal club too, and he's going to love it. Everyone's going to love it. They're going to think it's fantastic. It's a showcase for the creativity. Why do 95% of our players not stick around? Ouch. That was a low blow. But come on, let's stop making ridiculous statements. Like, people like to be miserable, and this is an opportunity, and look at the positive that comes from it. It doesn't work that way. We don't need healers going around thinking, oh, well, if I don't feel like healing, I can just kill everybody. If you want to kill everybody, put the right guns on your bot. And if you want to heal people, there's guns for that too. It doesn't have to be both at the same time. Balance. Everyone's going to have their own opinion already. I mean, twice now in just over 10 minutes, I've got people so pissed off to just furiously pages and pages of anger. What we need to talk about, I think that's very important, and it's come up on the forums, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. It's something that I've been noticing for the last little while, and that's the build is gone out of Robocraft right now. It's not about building anymore. It's about finding a place to slap your guns and your tracks and go drive. Drive fight. It's Robocraft, drive fight. Forget about the build for now. Understanding the MOBA update is a big one. It's a major undertaking for a relatively small development team. It's going to continue to be a major undertaking for them to get it to where they want it to be. I really think that once they get it to that spot, that a really, really, really significant effort needs to be put into looking at the build side of the game and making it more involved. There's depth in the combat, but that doesn't mean we can't have depth in the building as well, right? If people who are approaching this game to be casual are able to see the depth in the combat as casual players and appreciate it, then they can see the depth in the build as casual players and appreciate it, and have to learn a few things about how things work and how to put things together so that they work the way that you want them to. There's no reason why it just has to be blocks that stick together so that you can attach mobility stuff and guns to it and then you go drive. There's a lot of room for things that would be a lot more interesting than just one button to fire and then maybe a second button to activate a supercomputer ability, whatever that happens to be. Lots of stuff that can be done for depth and expanding on what's already there that would put the craft back in Robocraft, because right now it's kind of like it's very, very common to see games, especially anything involving voxel, to add craft to the end of their name, because then everyone associates it with that other game that has craft on the end of its name that's got several million people who have paid for it, and getting that kind of recognition for their own thing, saying, oh, you're familiar with that craft game, well, we've got a craft game too. What's it going to involve? Well, this is kind of what it's going to involve, except it's really, really simple and dull after a while. And that's what we've got with Robocraft building right now. See, we had this whole thing with the megabots that got a lot of attention. And what it really boiled down to at the end of the day is just bigger components, same building method. It's really, really difficult to get up for and motivated to build in this game because it's so heavily restricted. The size, the shape of the components, where you can put them, how big you have to make a bot in order to fit these things onto it. You know, what if we had a generator somewhere on the bot that we had to protect alongside the pilot seat? If the generator gets damaged or destroyed, there's an explosion that has damage around it. But as long as it's running, it provides extra power to your weapons. And the bigger the generator, the more extra power to the weapons. There's, you know, what if we had a kind of switching system where you can do such and such a thing? I've got a railgun, but now I want to switch it over to a couple of SMGs. Or we've got an SMG that I've attached to a railgun, and now if I want to shoot at somebody with the railgun, I can, and while it's reloading, I can shoot at them with the SMG, and the downside is that it takes longer to load the railgun. All these different things, you know, and I'm just throwing out ideas here to give you an idea what I'm talking about. It's not just extra components slapped onto the same old blocks. It's things that are a little bit more interesting, that kind of lead to a little bit more enjoyable time spent in the garage bay, and then translated into the possibility for equally useful bots out in the field. Because right now, the building, I'll take a pass on the building right now. And, you know, I've been pretty critical of the megabots since the TX1 SMG came out, and just pretty much every part of that implementation I've found reason to dislike. But I want to be very clear about the core of my frustration with this whole system, with the megabots, the way they were implemented, the way they were tested. It's that right now in the Robocraft world, customers aren't treated like customers, and testers aren't treated like testers. And there's a little bit of overlap. Obviously, if you're a customer and you're paying free gem for a early access game that you were basically helping to test, then you're a customer and a tester. If you're just a tester, you're just a tester. That's the way it is. If you're a person who is wanting to give free gem a certain amount of money and a certain amount of, you know, over a certain period of time, for premium use or whatever, and just think of yourself as a customer, and you're willing to understand that testing means that there's going to be some issues, then you're just a customer. But there's got to be appropriate handling of both of these. And the megabots issue was the one where I first really felt like testers weren't being treated like testers, because obviously developing a brand new system, you got the TX1 SMG, you're putting it into place, you want to test the hell out of that thing, you want high intensity, all of the stuff that could possibly go wrong, you want to find out as soon as possible, and the best way to do that is to get as many people testing as many guns as possible at the exact same time and see what breaks. Right, that's normal, we understand that. But then at the end of that whole process, the only people who got any kind of nod from the developers at all were the ones who got 100 kills with the TX1 SMG, and they got 6 million RP worth of special custom skin guns. Hey, thanks guys. And I don't resent the fact that they got those, because they had to do that 100 kills with the you know, they deserve that. But at the same time, you know, going forward and all these different testing things and stuff that's going on, and it's not coming down to the people who are playing the game, as we appreciate very much your involvement with this game as a tester, because you're basically, the game could launch tomorrow. Let's pretend, whether or not we're happy with all the mechanics and stuff like that, let's pretend that the developers made the decision that tomorrow this is no longer an early access game, this is an officially launched game, blam, it's done. Nothing would change in terms of the interaction with the customer, in terms of the interaction with the players, because nothing is being done special for people who are testing the damn game, and nothing is being done for the people who are paying for the game when the game doesn't work. Right? There's two sides of that coin, and neither one of them is being serviced appropriately, if you catch my meaning. So if I'm going to be that much of a bastard and say that they're not doing a good job on either side, what is my suggestion? How do we recognize testers? How do we make them feel better about their role as testers? How do we give them incentive to keep coming back and testing the game, instead of 95% saying see ya after whatever, a month, 3 months, whatever the time frame is? Instead of saying we want to test a tier 10 plus 1 component, if you are tier 10 and you would like to test this component, it will cost you X amount of tier 10 tech points and X amount of RP, and then you will try it out, and if you want to receive any kind of thank you from us, you're going to have to do this stupid, ridiculous grind. You say, we've got this new gun coming out, and we want to get as many people testing it as possible, so we're going to give you a tester pack, and this is going to be just like every other tester pack that we've given you, because it's a new thing, these tester packs that we're going to be giving people for all these new things that we want to test, that includes in it, say, 4 of these new guns. You might want 6 in an optimal build, but we're going to give you 4 in this tester pack, and it's also going to include some mobility options and some special blocks that you can pick and choose what you want to use, and build the bot the way that you would like, have fun with it, and then get into some matches and test it. The blocks will ensure that you are always recognized as being at the appropriate tier with this bot to go in and test. You won't be able to earn tech points in this tier, or maybe you will. Maybe while you're testing in this tier you will be able to earn tech points that you can use later on, but maybe not many. Whatever, you know, decisions can be made. And then at the end of the testing period, we're going to take back everything from the tester pack, because it's a tester pack, and we're going to say you're not going to be able to keep most of this stuff when it's done, except for the 4 things that we wanted you to test. That's our gift to you. You can have these. Now, if you want more, you're going to have to unlock them like you normally would, and you're going to have to pay for them like you normally would. But these 4 that you have, they're on the house. Thanks so much for being testers. We appreciate it. Does it mean that it's going to require some time behind the scenes to set up that kind of system? Sure it is. Is it worth it to treat people well when they're doing you a favor? Helping you test this game that you're developing. Oh, by the way, asking them for money so that you can pay your bills. I mean, we're really kind of drifting into the highly offensive accusations territory, and I believe quite strongly that there's not enough gratitude from the developers for the testers of this game, and conversely, we're paying them to test their game, some of us, with premium time. We give them X amount of money, we get Galaxy Cash, we trade in that Galaxy Cash for premium time, and then say my balance says I've got 30 days worth of premium time left over. or, you know, still to go. And out of 2 weeks, I can't get onto the game and play for 3 days out of that 2 weeks because the queues are broken, or the game keeps crashing, or I'm constantly getting kicked out of matches before they're over and not getting any reward for them. And then once everything is finally fixed and the servers are back up to working capacity, the developer's like, oh, here's a day or two of free premium for everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting us through this rough time with our servers. All the people who don't pay for premium are like, oh my god, you guys are fantastic. You're the best developers ever. This is why I love Free Jam. They're the best ever. The people who have paid for it are like, I lost 3 days and you're giving me 2. Do you not appreciate my business? Is that a thing? Why should I even have to point out to you that I've lost time out of this deal because the servers were misbehaving? Why can't you just say, for everyone who has signed in to play our game during this time when the servers were misbehaving, please enjoy a day or two of free premium time. That includes all the people who are just enjoying the game without paying for it. And for our premium users, we've determined that there's a certain amount of downtime, and we would like to offer you 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, whatever is appropriate based on when the servers were and were not working over that period of time, as compensation for the time that you may have lost as a result of this. And please continue to consider us and, you know, invest in us as we continue to make the game, and we'll look after you when things don't work so that you don't feel like you're not getting your money's worth. That's just good business. You shouldn't have to wait for your customers to come to you and say, this is a big-ass problem. You should be recognizing this is a big-ass problem, and to you, our customers, we apologize, we're aware of it, we've fixed it now, it seems to be working. Here's fair compensation for what you didn't get out of your money, so that you know in future that if you give us your money that we're going to look after you. That's kind of where I feel it needs to be, and it's not a negotiable thing with me. It's either you're going to make the decisions or you're not, and if you're not, then I've got... you know, I've got money to spend on you guys, or I've got money to spend on some other guys. I don't need to be spending it on everybody, and I'm not going to spend it on the people who don't appear to value my contribution. So that's one of the things. If I look at it as whether I'm going to stick around and play the game, whether other people are going to see that as a positive thing when they read that in the forums. This was my experience. It's not a good one as a you know, a paying player, a paying tester. And on the other side of the coin is you're going to sign into this game and you're going to do all this testing and all these things. Is going to uproot your entire experience. And the only people that get any kind of a nod from the developers are the 5% who play for 4+ hours a night, every night, 16 hours a day on weekends. Because they're the only ones that matter. Got to treat people like you want them to stick around or they won't stick around. That's all it is. That's all I got to say. I'm almost out of footage. Please, I'm inviting you guys to leave your ideas, your comments, your feedback in the comment section below the video. But if you're not going to be civil, don't do it. I'm warning you. Don't do it. Think about it. Whatever you're mad about, whatever you want to say, and you're getting ready to type up a storm of evil, just put a positive spin on it and everything will be fine. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.